Hello, everybody. Dr. Rick here, dropping in on you. Hope everybody is off and running and doing everything they want to do. It's the middle of the week. I hope you're in line with whatever it is you set out to do. I hope that you are in productive and progressive pursuit of your goals. To me, that's considered success. Success isn't simply hitting the goal, it's the progression towards the goal. You need to learn how to celebrate your progress. No matter how slow, progress is progress. Yes, you want to progress as rapidly as possible, but you have to understand sometimes things will come to a very creeping crawl. But as long as you can keep things moving forward, be appreciative of it, celebrate it, make it a part of loving yourself for doing what it is you said you were going to do. We don't get to move at warp speed in everything that we desire in this life. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. Hey, how you doing? Look, here, hey, check this out. I'm not going to be long. I'm going to be straight to the point here. Got a lot to do today and over the next week and a half or so as we move into September. As I've been telling all of you, that we are transitioning the company. It's scaling, it's growing, and there's a lot of different moving parts, a lot of new expenses, a bunch of things that's going on that we're having to get together. But it is absolutely necessary to take this business and this company that I love and I'm so passionate about to the next level. And so we're working on that. So I'm constantly on the move, constantly going, constantly thinking. But also, you should probably be aware that I've just finished book number 25, waiting on the printer to finish doing what they're doing so we can start getting those out to the people who pre-ordered. And hopefully, you guys will really, really get that. The book is The War on Black Wealth, Breaking the Code. And one of the things that I came to understand in writing that book is just how many people, not just Black, people of all races and colors, creeds, religions, backgrounds, ethnicities, how few people understand the true dynamics of wealth building, how many people understand money, finance, uh, how many people know the difference between an asset and a liability, how many people understand how you can use insurance as a living benefit, as well as a way to increase and bolster your wealth, how you can use trust as a means of protecting assets that you build and create, and so many other things that the wealthy have been doing for years, and most of us have not had access to an understanding of. And understanding of. And um, what I decided to do was to dust off legacy wealth, and to introduce people to the multitudinous mechanisms of wealth building, the understanding of finance, and the ability to understand how someone like Earl Crawley, who never made more than $20,000 in his life, retired with a investment portfolio of over $500,000, his home paid off, put his children through college, and has an overall net worth of over $1 million. A man who made $12 an hour at the height of his career, a Black man. How someone like Theodore Johnson, who never made more than $14,000, working for UPS way back when, was able to retire worth $70 million. The use of compound growth versus compound debt. So many different things that are simply there that we don't use. Income annuities, again, life insurance policies that have lifetime benefits and not just death benefits, insuring insurable things. Let me give you a little peek inside of what's going on. People have a difficulty determining what's an asset, what's a liability. If it does not, if it can't be used as collateral and it cannot be insured, then it's not an asset. If it cannot be used as collateral, if it cannot be insured, or and if you want it also to, if all possible, to appreciate in value. So those are some of the things that you can use to understand. Do I really have an asset? Do I have a liability? A lot of people have been told that your homes are your biggest asset, not unless you own them outright or own a substantial amount of equity over what is left. That moves uh, the lender out of the number one position on the lien list, then you do not have an asset yet. You have a liability, and you have to understand when your home becomes an asset versus a liability. All of these things are important. Understand why certain people do certain things. Understand the four basic principles of investing that all major investors practice. And it's not what you've been hearing. It's not what the common idea or the common practices are. I have been blessed to be in the vein of this for quite some time. I have been blessed to be able to not only learn how to generate revenue, but how to properly protect it, learn the hard way. Just because you generate it doesn't mean that you can sustain it or you have it if you don't know how to protect it. Learn how to use trust to protect your assets. Learn how to understand. It was one of the Rockefellers, I believe Nelson Rockefeller, who once said that it's not what you own, it's what you control. And I think the way he said it was, the goal is not to own nothing and control everything. And people don't get that because most of us have been told we want our name on it. We want to own it because in that we feel we have to. It's not in what you own, it's what you control. And why is that important? Well, if my name isn't on it, it's hard to target it if you're trying to target me. And I can get into that into great detail, and I do in this course. This course is 6 months long, and we're going to go from A to Z. We're going to talk about the importance of compound growth, which is how Theodore Johnson went from a $14,000 a year job to $70 million. And I think he died in his 90s, and he gave over half of that away because he was still growing it after he retired. And so compound growth is one of the most powerful tools that you have at your disposal. You have indexes like the Vanguard 500, the S&P 500 that have produced consistently over the last couple of decades at roughly about 8.2 to 10% annually compounded. And if you don't understand that, in other words, the earlier you start doing that, this is something great to get your kids involved in, because if you get them involved now in just what you would think would be an insignificant amount every month over 20 years, it's going to be unbelievable. And there are a number of sites that you can go to that will allow you to use a compound calculator to determine if I give this amount every month for the next 20 years at 8.2%, what would it produce compounded? We're going to learn about that. And this is not a situation where you're going to be sold any type of financial packages or asked to invest in anything. This is a course. You pay for the course, and you're going to sit down. A lot of this time is going to be with me. A few is going to be with some other people who are experts in other areas, like trust. One of my partners, that's what he does, is he builds trust, and he's going to talk to you and tell you about why you need trust on the front end and the back end of your life, why a will isn't enough. Why the will isn't enough. Everybody doesn't understand that all it takes is one person that's a part of your estate or feels they should be a part of your estate to challenge the will, and it's going to probate. Just like if it wasn't a will at all. However, if the will is protected by a living trust, or if there's a living trust even without a will, won't be going to probate. And my partner will talk to you about those things. I'll teach you about it, and I'll tell you, it's a lot I know, but he actually constructs them. He puts them together so that they stand up in the proper jurisdictions. And so it is immensely important to understand this. This course is $997 for 6 months, which is great. Normally, a 6-month course with me is roughly $6,000 for my gold course, which is 26 weeks, which is 6 months. But I want people to take advantage of this. So for a limited time, and I'm only taking 20 people because I want to be able to work with you directly. And I've already got a bunch of other stuff going on. And 20 people is the max that I can take on at the level that I'm going to be engaging you. Now, again, I'm not going to be selling you anything. I'm not going to be asking you to invest anything. This is simply about me teaching you what you need to know about finance from A to Z so that you have the proper and necessary perspicacity or understanding of it to start making moves and start doing your own research and start developing. But I'm going to give you the foundation, everything you need to know to understand why you haven't gotten here, why they are there, and why you're here, and all of those things in between. But in writing that book, I'm like, how many people know this? How many people are even aware of this? How many people are simply thinking that insurance is just something you get so that when you die, they can bury you? And they're over there using it for everything. My partner always uses this analogy, and I'm going to take you back if you're old enough. If you're not old enough, or if you're not really a movie buff, you won't get this, but you'll get the principle because I'm going to put it in context. But if you're old enough, you remember the movie Trading Places. It's where Eddie Murphy is literally a wino, a bum, or whatever. He's homeless. He's on the street. And these two rich brothers, extremely wealthy, decide that they're going to prove that you can take anybody and teach them, blah, blah, blah. They got a bet between each other that, you can literally train somebody to change their lives. And one is on one side, one is on the other. So they pick Eddie Murphy, kidnap him, bring him in the house. He wakes up and he's in this unbelievable mansion, and he's going, what's going on? And so they tell him that it's all his, and he's like, whatever. So he says, so this is mine. And he picks up this obviously expensive vase, and he says, this is mine. So this vase belongs to me. And they go, yeah. So he said, if I throw it down and break it, I'm not going to get in trouble. So he throws it down. And one of them says, man, that was a $50,000 vase. And Eddie Murphy goes, and then the other guy says, that's okay. We paid 50 for it, but we insured it for 70. They're giving you the game right in the movies, but nobody's catching it. Insurance has been used by them for years. Why do you think they sit up and buy in large commodities art? Because art has a price. Art, here's a liability. Why? It can be insured. It can be used as collateral. They insure it, and they normally insure it for an amount over. They're playing a game that most of us aren't even aware of. And there's so many other things out there that if you just were aware of it, you can look at it. So people are telling me, man, I'm making this. There's no way that I can invest. And the one thing that I remember in the story about Theodore Johnson is he made $14,000 a year, and he knew someone who was wealthy, and he kept saying, I want to be wealthy like you, but it's no way. And the guy says, you're going to have to take 20% of your income, and you're going to have to invest it in a compound growth asset. And he was like, I can't afford. I make 14. I can't afford 20% of my income going into that. He said, you can't afford not to. It's a difference in thinking. The person who believes in lack believes he can't afford it. The person who understands that to expand, he has to make sacrifices, the one who gets the expansion. And it's a belief. And we're going to talk about poverty mindset versus wealth mindset. That's the first thing that has to change, is how you view the world, how you operate. And the thing is, so much of your behavior is built around a mindset that you don't even know you have. And we're going to deal with that. We're going to deal with the elements and components of wealth building. There's absolutely nobody who can't, if they're deciding they're going to get out and make it happen. We're going to talk about how you can use the internet as a means of generating revenue that you then protect and then put to work for you. We're going to talk about why the difference between money and currency. We're going to talk about why having cash on hand isn't a good idea, especially right now. We're going to talk about all these things that most people aren't aware of. We're going to define millionaire, because most people's idea of a millionaire isn't the truth about most millionaires. Most millionaires walk around, you would never know they were millionaires because they don't have $1 million in the bank. They're not pushing a Maserati. What are they? Matter of fact, the average millionaire drives a Toyota. Why? Because the average millionaire is developing, building assets, and most of their wealth isn't in liquidity, meaning that they can go spend it. It's in hard assets, art, cars, car collections, not just driving stuff and then having to, but collectible cars, um, real estate, stocks, especially foreign stocks, and a bunch of other things. And all of this stuff is available to everybody. You simply have to know how to move. And here's the beauty of it. Well, all I have is this, all I have is that. Partner, something we need to learn how to do anyway. Partner, come together, build a group of people who are willing to expand themselves and grow themselves. Why? We are about to be the first generation in the history of this country to leave our children in a worse situation than we were born into. That shouldn't be acceptable. It's definitely not acceptable to me. And I've made sure that I'm not going to leave my children in the same condition or situation or circumstances that I was born into. And so it means making sacrifices. It means building. It means looking out long term and not just as what's here. I understand, enjoy your work, enjoy the fruit of your labor, but you should be building something, a legacy. That's why I called it legacy wealth. Why? Because to me, outside of the life you lived, the bequeathment of some form of wealth that says you don't have to start at zero like I did is one of the greatest legacies you can leave your progeny, your offspring, your children. And so this is something that I've created. And I think for what you're going to get into it, it is unbelievably priced. And I'm only accepting 20 people. The link is in the description box for those who want to do this and take it serious. We're starting in September. So get on now. The offer is only going to be up as long as there are slots available. And this isn't just limited, if you get what I'm saying. So get your spot. On that note, look, I'm gonna get ready to get out here. As I always say, I live my life on full so that when I leave this place, I don't eat. I am challenging every last one of you to up the ante, to up the standard, to challenge yourself, to move yourself beyond the parameters of the boxes that you have been put in. I am challenging every last one of you. It's time now to do something exceptional. It's time now to do something extraordinary in this life and in this world. And it's going to be all up to you. No matter what's in front of you, no matter how many obstacles, it's up to you. And I want to be as instrumental as I can in you getting there. And I'm giving and doing everything I possibly can to make that happen. So again, here's an opportunity. Jump in. And I look forward to the opportunity of working with you. On that note, I am going to check out of here and get on to the next thing I have to get done. You guys have a great day.